Hello, 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 hello everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening sa inyong lahat. Nakikita ko na marami na mga tao dito. Sandali, tingnan natin. Okay, shout out sa lahat ng mga nandito. Lahat ng mga nandito, maraming salamat sa pagpunta at ngayon hinihintay natin si Kuya Joey. Kuya Joey, ayan. Here you go. Hi, Kuya Joey. Good morning, good afternoon,
Hello.
good
Good
evening.
morning. Good
What?
morning. How are you?
How are you? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
How's everything? So you've been here. I'm just waiting for that time for 6 o'clock in
It's
Pacific
okay.
time. so okay, so I'm glad that you're here. And first of all, I'd like to welcome everybody who are here. The people who've been here. I don't know what time they started, but we have here um old fart gaming. Happy New Year. Thank you for coming. And then we have Sky. Sky. Kuya Joy, do you know them?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So they are your friends.
Yes.
Okay, so I think I gave it already. I gave them jackets. So I hope that
Okay.
they have jackets now. So Kuya Joey, tell us about your Christmas, New Year.
It was good. It was good. We celebrate a little bit differently than I think a lot of people, and that's because my wife's from the Philippines. So we
Uh,
try to incorporate, the traditional American Christmas stuff with the traditional Filipino Christmas stuff. Same with New Year's. So,
mhm, that's good. Okay, so I need to introduce you to all our guests. Um, We're live now from California and Alabama, right?
yes.
What time is it in Alabama?
8 8
I,
a.m.
I see. So 8 a.m. in Alabama and 6 a.m. in California.
Oh, yeah, you had to
So
wake up early, sorry.
no, it's okay. We schedule it so that we can have more people from the Philippines, especially to be able to join us
Yeah,
today. So, Kuya Joey, I want to introduce you to the people. I'm glad that you're here, and I'm very thankful that you gave me the time for this moment for us to talk about Filipino culture. So,
according
Kuya Joey, maybe mas magaling ka pa sa akin mag-Tagalog kaysa ano.
well, I know we have a lot of American listeners that don't speak Tagalog, so
Yeah. So Kuya Joey is a musician and he wrote original songs. I've listened to it yesterday and previously. And I'm really proud of you, Kuya Joey, that you were able to make all this for the Filipinos.
well, thank you.
So and you're married to a
Yeah,
Filipino wife and
yes.
you're happy and we want to know all about it and then relate it to our title of this talk. It's about culture, Filipino culture and Filipino mentality. Colonial mentality, and
Yeah,
maybe we talk about crab mentality and all those other cultures of Filipino that is existing right now.
yeah,
Okay, so Kuya Joey, I'll give you the floor, and then you can tell us about it. And maybe later on, if people have questions, we can have questions and answer.
yeah. Well,
Okay,
thank you for inviting me here. Um, so me and my wife have been together for many, many, many years, over 20 years. We met overseas, um, fell in love, and got married. We have three beautiful children. They're all well, 2 are in college and one's in senior year in high school. Today's her 18th birthday. So,
wow, happy birthday.
yeah. So, but yeah, I when you first look at the Filipino culture and compare it to the American culture, at first it doesn't seem as if there's that many differences, right? The differences don't really. Yeah, of course when you go there and it's hot and all that kind of stuff, but when you really start looking at the culture, at first you don't realize, especially talking to Filipinos and stuff, you don't realize that there's a difference in culture. until you really start looking more into it, and then you realize, oh my gosh, there's a lot of differences here. We
Mhm.
have some of the same similar ideals in American culture, if you can say American culture. I don't know if there is an American culture, but there's so many different cultures in America. But as you dive deeper into it, you realize, oh my gosh, there's a lot of differences here. And I realized early on in our relationship with my wife and I that those differences were causing misunderstandings. Those misunderstandings were causing arguments or hurt feelings or whatever. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna take the time and start learning a little bit about the Filipino culture. Well, then what happened was I fell in love with the history and the people, the culture, the food, everything. And so it was almost like a drug to learn more and learn more and learn more. And at first, as a disclosure to everyone there, I am not a professional at Filipino history or Filipino culture or anything like that. I'm very interested and have been for many, many years. And, you know, did in America what we call a deep dive study into the culture of the Philippines and stuff. So, yeah. So,
Yeah,
and
yeah, Kuya
also
Joey.
as a disclosure, I wanted to say that her title is One American's Perspective on Filipino. This is my perspective. This is
Uh-huh.
everything I'm going to say here is through my own research and my own opinions of what my understanding of the Filipino culture is.
Okay. Very good. Very good, Kuya Joey, that you emphasize that. I wanted to say that also that this conversation with you is based on our own opinion and does not affect anybody else.
Yeah.
And if you guys have other opinions, you're free to tell us and ask questions. So disclosure for everybody who are listening. This is based on our own understanding, our own research, and our own opinion. Nothing to
Uh,
do with anybody else.
yeah. So if I say something that makes you mad, don't be mad at her. Where is it? Is it that way?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Okay. So, Kuya Joey, how long did it take you to understand the Filipino culture?
I'm still understanding it.
And is it hard
I
to understand?
I think it takes a lifetime of study. You know.
Uh,
I mean, yeah. Even to Filipinos, I think it takes a lifetime of study because um it's always evolving and changing and holding on to some of the old styles and
mhm,
adapting the new styles. That's what we'll talk about is the adaptiveness of Filipinos. Um,
mhm,
so yeah, I think it's an ongoing process. It's like
mhm,
people, how long did it take you to learn Tagalog? No, I'm still learning Tagalog. I don't think you ever stop. No,
uh-huh,
I don't. I don't still learn English, but English is my first language. You know what I mean?
mhm,
I think any kind of effort into discovering something that is vastly different from what you are,
mhm.
it just takes a long time, and it may take a lifetime.
Kuya Joey, we already have a question here.
Yeah.
Old Part Gaming. Thank you for participating. So the question is, biggest similarity and biggest differences maybe between the cultures.
That's an easy one. It seems hard, but it's easy. And it
Okay,
is
thank you for the question. Old
thanks
Part
thanks, Scott. His
Gaming.
name's Scott, by the way.
Oh, Scott. Hi, Scott.
So actually, Scott, you hit the nail on the head with that question because that's exactly what I wanted to talk about. The biggest difference in the cultures is a Filipino word called kapwa. Um, it doesn't exist in American or Western cultures. Now, some of the ideas within kapwa do exist at a level in America or other Western countries, but not at the same depth that they do to Filipinos. The funny thing about all this talking, I was talking to my wife about this earlier, and
Mhm.
I don't think, I really don't think many Filipinos have sat down and defined everything. It just is, they just know it, inherently know it from living a Filipino lifestyle. Um, so there'll be a lot of words or a lot of ideas that I'll say here in a little while, and you'll be like, "I've never heard of that," or "That's cool. I never thought of it that way." And it's not something that is just being invented. It's just a way to um, catalog it, maybe to write it down, to study it. Um, if the terms and all that, it doesn't matter. None of that matters. It's the emotional, the feelings, and what drives that, the kapwa. So Scott's probably like, okay, you answered my question with a Tagalog word that I don't understand. So kapwa, there's not really a direct translation for it in English. The closest thing we would have, I would say, is fellowship, maybe
Mhm.
fellowship of the common people. But it goes so much deeper than that. So my understanding of kapwa is that it has 8 parts. Okay. There's 3 main parts and 5 lesser parts. Um, well, I guess first we should start with, how did Kapwa develop? How did the Filipino culture develop? A little bit of history. So we all know about the Spanish rule of the Philippines and everything. But prior to the Spanish colonization of the Philippines, Filipinos were tribal. They It wasn't a country that Spain invaded. They invaded a group of islands, and within those islands, there were different um, subcultural or sub. There were different tribes, and they all developed their own culture a little bit, their own language. This is where the 184 languages in the Philippines come from. It's not that everybody speaks 184 languages. No, people usually speak their language from where they were born, their regional language, and then Tagalog or Filipino, actually. If you're lucky and get to have 3 different dialects. So some people don't. Some people only speak Tagalog, and that's not because of anything other than the fact that they are from the Tagalog language is actually a tribal language. Um, it's a dialect of the tribe was called the Tagalogs. Um, they're responsible for creating something called the Maharlika society and all that, but still they were tribal. Um, so that's where it comes from. And the core of Kapwa, or the foundational building blocks of Filipino culture, comes from um, the Filipino family. Okay. So you have a hierarchy, and hierarchy is extremely important in Filipino culture, um, much more so than America. We have a hierarchy in America, but it's only relegated to like a workspace environment where we have your boss and all that. But in Filipino culture, it's a part of everyday life in every facet. There's a hierarchy, um, but it starts at the family. Okay, and families in the Philippines is vastly different too. They don't really have immediate family like we talk about in America. They do, but it's more of a legality. It's in the Philippines. It's quite common to grow up in a household where your mother and father live there, your brothers and sisters, but also your titas, your tito, your aunts and your uncles and your cousins. You might share a room. They're all living in the same house. So
Sometimes sometimes the neighbors too.
yeah, and sometimes the neighbors, yeah. And what this comes from is that tribal rooting of the Filipino culture. Filipinos are a collective collectivist society, meaning that the values of the group are more important. The needs of the group are more important than the individual's needs. That's a huge basis to much of the cultural traits within Filipinos. So you start with the family, and like we said, it may be a big family. Um, and then you go to the next level, which is the bakada or the mga kaibigan, the friends, the close friends outside the family. And then from there, you stretch out to what they call a barangay. We don't have that in America, but think of it as, I guess in America, Ate, would you say it was like, be like a neighborhood, maybe? I guess that's
Yes.
the best way to explain it.
Barangay is like a group, it's a tribe, something like that. A tribe
Yeah,
in American India, and there's a tribe. So something like that. One barangay, one
yeah. And
place, so many
they
people.
still have them in the Philippines. Matter of fact, it's a part of the local government now.
Mhm.
Uh, each city has multiple barangays, and then those barangays, you select the barangay captain,
Mhm.
and they bring the grievances and address the mayor and stuff of that town. So you
Mhm.
have the barangay, then you have the city, and then what's really important to Filipinos and many of you, especially Americans and stuff, who watch many Filipino channels will notice this now that I say it. But then you have your regional identity that Filipinos are very, very fond and close of and protective of. You have your Ilicanos, you have your Pampangans, you have your Pangasinans, you have your Cebuanos, your Dabuenos, and I'm not trying to leave anybody out, but you will hear them say, "Oh, I'm Cebuano," or "I'm Ilocano," or "I'm Waray." Um, and it's very much a part of their identity, the region that they come from. Um, Similar to us in America, where we say, "Oh, I'm a Southerner," or "I'm from California," or "I'm from up north," but much more personal to them where they come from.
Mhm.
And
Kuya
then last would
Joey,
be the
sorry.
country. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
No,
Sorry.
no, that was it. That was it.
Okay. So, Kuya Joey, I just wanna give a little bit of information about the word you said. You were explaining the kapwa. So, kapwa is
Yeah.
it's like fellowship or
Fellowship. Yeah.
kapwa tao. So, remember, our Philippines has more than 7,000 islands,
Yeah.
and each of these islands they have their own languages. They have their own dialects.
Yes.
And I think in the Philippines, there's about 120 to 180 different languages.
184 last I looked up. 100.
84,
Yeah.
yeah, 84, 87 languages in the Philippines. That's why sometimes even the Filipinos, they don't even understand each other.
Yeah.
And then they have different
Yeah.
cultures in every identification.
Because a lot of people they go to school and of course
Mhm.
they're learning Filipino. Okay.
Mhm.
Con, hello po. So they're learning Filipino. It's not Tagalog. People
Mhm.
mistake this all the time. The national language of the Philippines is two. Number one, the national language is I don't know what's going on. Did I do that?
Yes.
Sorry for the
Yeah.
balloons. The first language is English, actually, is a national language of the Philippines. And the second
Uh-huh.
national language of the Philippines is Filipino, not Tagalog. Tagalog created Filipino. Filipino came from Tagalog, but Tagalog is actually its own dialect.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, there's some older people who didn't learn Tagalog in school and have a difficult time speaking Tagalog if they're from the province or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, the news, the news is generally cast in what we call Taglish. It's Tagalog and English kind of mixed
Mhm.
together. Uh,
Yeah.
but that's what Filipino is. It's kind of Taglish. So
Mhm.
yeah, but
Yeah.
so within Kappa, we have the three major traits of Kapwa. This is what the meat and potatoes of Kapwa is. And there's three. Uh, Utang ng loob, Then you have pakikisama, and you have hiat. And don't worry for your American guys, I'll explain. So utang ng laob is basically also very difficult to translate because it doesn't actually translate. Okay, but because it's an idea, it's not like the actual words, but it's a debt owed by one soul to another person.
It's like a forever debt. Utang na loob is like you
Yeah.
give me a favor and I have to give you a favor back, and that favor is forever in my mind. Like whatever
Right.
I do, whatever I do, I owe you something like that.
Exactly, but it shouldn't be thought of. My understanding of utang ng loob is not that, hey, Jim Star, I'm gonna come and paint your house because I want you to later come and bake me a cake. No, that's not utang loob. That's abusing it. My idea and understanding of utang ng loob is, hey, Jim, I'm gonna come and paint your house because you need help. And I don't expect you to do anything for me in return. But the the way it should work, and my understanding of it is, I'm doing something for this person without expecting any help or assistance in return. But that person now owes the debt of a favor, right? Does that person have to pay me back? No. But that person needs to pay someone else back when they have the opportunity um, to help. In America, we call that idea of pass it on,
Yeah, or
uh,
pay it forward,
pay it
something like that.
forward. Yeah.
Yeah.
But in Filipino, it's just something nice to us. But in the culture of the Philippines, it is part of their cultural identity. It's um there's a whole nother part. So I told you there was three: utang ng loob, pakikisama, and hiat. Now, here's where it becomes different. In America, if somebody does something nice for me and then I don't do something nice for someone else in return or for that person in return, it's not thought of as anything other than, well, okay, I did that thing for him and I did it out of the kindness of my own heart, not because I was expecting anything. Oh, well. In the Philippines, it's very different because the third one comes in, but I'm not going to skip around. So we're going to go pakikisama. Oh, let me explain more on utang ng loob. It's not just a debt owed to someone who does you a favor. And remember, I said all the culture in the Philippines starts in the family. Utang ng loob is born with you. The moment you're born, you have utang ng loob to your parents,
Mhm.
to your family members. Okay, you owe them something for bringing them you into life, for caring for you for all your entire life, for raising you. Um, and So there's that, but it's also, how can we see it in action? How can we see utang ng loob? For those of us who are outsiders, or for those of us who just need to see it, we see it in many different ways. We see it, we hear it in the language. Um, Many of you may know the word po. Um,
Po.
po. Yeah, it doesn't have a translation in English, but you use it when you're showing respect to someone um, through your speaking. There's another trait where you can see this in action. Is There's a practice called mano po, where you'll see many Filipinos. They'll come in, especially the younger ones, will come into their grandmother or their mother or their father or their uncle, and they'll touch their hand to their head of they'll grab their grandmother's hand and touch it. That's mano, or blessing. But it's a sign of respect. Um, We see it with the honorific titles, Kuya, Ate, Ninong, Ninong, um, that people call each other. You've noticed that, I'm sure, that you go to these live streams and everybody's calling each other Ate and Kuya. What's that all about? That's showing respect to someone, even if we don't know if they're older or not, you do it at first, and then they'll tell you, "Hey, don't call me ate," or whatever. But so that's why we see it in people who are overseas. When they come to the Philippines, there's this thing that all the nieces and nephews get excited about, pasalubong, and they're bringing gifts from the country to their family. Uh, yeah, a lot of it is because they live in a different country and it's cool things, but it's part of this utang ng loob. I'm paying it forward, or the balikbayan boxes, or a big one in Filipino culture is bayanihan,
Bayanihan.
bayanihan, which in old days, um, when people lived out in the province and stuff like that, and I think still maybe it even happens today, but if for some reason something happened and somebody's house needs to be moved, the whole barangay would come together and pick up the house on poles and transport the house to a different location. I always find it interesting. It's bayanihan, but the root word of that is bayani, which means hero. So it's basically a group of heroes coming to help this family out, um, and pay it forward through there. So now we move on to the next thing, which is pakikisama. Pakikisama is English would be like going along with the other people, or being with the other people in your area. I like to think of it more as a unity of the community, um, regardless of their socioeconomic status, regardless of their educational background, regardless of their religion or their faith, regardless of any of this stuff. The pakikisama is, hey, you are here with us. You are one of us. And even though we have our differences, we set them aside, um, because we are one big extended family. That's how it is in barangays and on these teams and the region. It's all that kind of stuff. And where can we see that? Um, One of the real cool things, and another thing about pakikisama is it is so completely different from individualism. It's the complete opposite of individualism. It's everyone. I don't care about what anything that you and I have different. We set it aside completely to help each other. Um, but one of the traits that you can see from this is, um, Filipinos, and you will notice this if you're not Filipino, you will notice this as you go along, that Filipinos will very rarely make a demand of someone, especially even their subordinates. Um, what they will do is they will phrase it with the language use into a request. And they do that by adding either the paki, Paki, or maki, Maki, and it turns any demand into a request.
Okay.
Um, so, and it's a very respectful and way of doing that. And that also, Filipinos, maybe in like a work environment, if my boss has an idea, I won't necessarily present an alternative idea out of respect for that hierarchy that I talked about earlier. Now, if he asks for things, yes, but you wouldn't really necessarily come up and say, "Hey, this is the way we should do it." I think no, you don't really do that. Um, but then that leads us into the third main element, which is hiat, which is often mistranslated, um, as shame or embarrassment. Now, there is words that use hiat, and it means to be embarrassed or shy, but that's not what this is. Hiat is really two different ways of talking about hiat. It's suffering from a shameful action complete by you, but it's also a corrective course. Okay. Hiya is also used as a sacrificial self-control mechanism. Um, so when we talked about utang ng loob, and I didn't pay it forward, well, that's become hiya to me. It's become a shameful act to me because I did not uphold utang ng loob. I didn't uphold my debts to someone else. Um, or if I'm going around giving demands to people in a rude way, that would be hiya on me. Um, so one way we see that in Filipino culture on display um, is um, is in another way a little bit different. Filipinos, you will notice, often will not say no. Instead, Filipino, I'll be like, hey, Konkon, are you gonna come to my party? And then Konkon would say yes, or she would say, oh, I hope so, or hopefully, or maybe, or we'll see, or sana, you know. But she won't say no, even if she knows the answer is no. I'm not coming to your party. She won't say it. She'll say maybe or I hope so. If you ever hear those words, it means no. But it's part of that Filipino trait where they don't want to bring shame upon themselves or their families by turning your request down.
Yes,
Um,
Kuya Joey, I have an example for that.
yeah.
So, like for example, here, my children they were brought up here in the U.S. and there's a difference in the culture.
Oh
That's
yes.
where we see exactly what we're talking about. Like for example, you were explaining about the no. So my children, if you say something to them and they don't like it, right away they will say no. That's it. But if
Yeah.
you are talking to a Filipino and you want their answer, they will say yeah, you're right. They will say maybe okay, but in deep in their
hmm
heart, it means no.
It means no. Yeah, that's what I always tell all my American friends. If you ask a Filipino this question, can you do this or what? And if they say anything other than yes, it means no. Basically, it means no. You know. But in America, you're right. Americans are very straightforward. We don't have
Mhm,
the concept of hiya.
mhm.
Um, and so if it's something I don't want to do, I'm like, no, I can't come. Sorry, but I can't do it. Or, we just don't have that. And Konkon is hitting right on my next point, actually. Uh, well, actually, while we're talking about hiya, um, this is a cultural thing too. This tells you how deep and profound these concepts are to Filipinos. Probably the biggest, most hurtful insult of one Filipino can give to another one is about hiya. They'll say, walang hiya ka. You are without shame. In America, that's like, okay, whatever, dude. But in the Philippines, saying you are without shame is very deep. It's very hurtful. Um,
Walang hiya.
yeah, walang hiya.
It
Um,
stick to the bones.
Yeah, it's bad. And there's another Spanish term. It's a Spanish term and it's kind of like Hiya, but it's like the
Amor
things.
copio, amor copio.
Homocopia, yeah. That kind of goes along with Hiya, but we don't want to get too thick in the weeds here. So, um, and briefly, kind of like what Cocon was just talking about, those kind of fall into the five minor parts of Filipino culture, or five minor parts of Kapwa, which is, and I'm gonna butcher some of these. I think is uh, pakikisala sa muha. Uh,
Salamuha,
yeah, salamuha,
pakikisalamuha.
which is like being
Getting along.
interactive, being involved in the people around you. Um, and what that does to Filipinos is it makes them. We talked about this briefly earlier. It makes them very adaptive to the surroundings. You'll notice that with Filipinos, they're very adaptive. They're like sponges. They just kind of soak in everything around them and kind of can become to it. And then you're like, oh, you were a newcomer here, but now you're like one of us. So the pakikisalamuha is kind of like it's
Adjusting,
it's adjusting. Yeah, there you go. Good. And then there's the pakikialahok, which is like
joining.
yeah. But the way I like to think of it is because these words don't really translate to English as the joining is okay. I like to think of it more as like uh the entire community coming together to help someone. Like we talked about the bayanihan. That's an act of pakikilahok. Um, it's coming together. No questions asked, no benefit required from me, but me and my family are coming over to help you do this thing, and we don't expect anything from you. Um, pakikibagay
Mhm.
is getting along with um, the people within that hierarchy that we talked about, those in charge, and not offering ideas or ways that are different from what they're saying to do. You know, there's a time and place for that in the Filipino culture. In American, it's just like, hey, I don't like the way we're doing this. I have a better idea. Why don't we try it? In Filipino culture, that's not really a thing you do. You kind of just go along. And when the boss asks, does anybody have a better idea or a different, that's when you say something, but not in the beginning. And then the two, I would actually call these major, but these are two. There's, I guess they're categorized as minor. Is pakikiramdam. So it's like an inherent ability to understand what other people around you are feeling, what their emotional status is, and then what do I do to help that person? Um, and then bahala na. Bahala na is a big one in the Philippines, and it's often misunderstood. I think bahala na is in English is like happen what may or whatever happens or something like that. And it's the idea, and this actually comes from more of the Christian faith, I believe, within the Philippines. Um, but it's the idea that God has my back. God has a plan, and you know, happen what may. It's His will. Um, but Filipinos are different in the fact that it's like, oh, this thing happened, and it's up to God what happens, and then they don't just walk away from it. No, Filipino, the bahala na attitude. That's where people mistake it. The bahala na attitude is this thing happened and I'm going to leave it up to God, but I'm going to do my part and continue my work, continue my efforts, even though it's still up to God. But I'm going to keep working. And on that, on the talk about working, I don't know for many of you Americans or Westerners, if you've ever worked with Filipinos, they will outwork everybody on the team every time. They're running around. They have the work ethic is very very good. Um, so yeah, that's my understanding of Kapwa. Is the thing we can go way deeper into it, but I think it would take us several hours of a podcast to do that. But that it kind of gives you a glimpse into the Filipino psyche of the cultural mindset. But culture is more than just the psychological things. It's also like the way people represent themselves. It's the festivals. It's the art. It's the music. It's the food. Food is and those things are huge parts of culture. Um, we talk about food, for example. One of the things I love about Filipino culture is that in the Philippines, if you kill an animal, you eat every part of that animal. They make use of every part of that animal that's edible. You know, you kill a pig, you're eating humba. It's made from the pig's feet. You're eating sisig, which is made from the ears. You're eating, and sometimes the face. I think. You're eating dinuguan, which is the blood, and I mean, you're using the animal. In America, we don't do that anymore. We used to, but we don't do it anymore. You know, so
Yes,
that.
Kuya Joey, that's funny when you say that because everything is eaten by the Filipinos.
Mhm.
Like if there is nothing else that they cannot eat, the dogs will eat it.
Yeah, yeah. There's no waste, right?
Uh-huh.
And that's commendable. And I'm telling you guys, if you ever haven't eaten that stuff, it is actually really good. And I don't know why we stopped eating it because we had at our New Year's party we had dinuguan, we had sisig, um oh my god, and menudo with the liver, and oh my god, it's amazing. And it's like why don't we eat this in America? You know, it's so good, and I think it's healthy for you. You know, but yeah. So I guess the subtitle was why Kapwa, why now, and there's some kind of interesting points. I don't know Jim, if you want to talk about something before we move on, or
Yeah, so thank you for that, Kuya Joey. So again, going back to those people who are here and Americans, they don't understand our language. I just want to explain a little bit about Kuya, Kuya, Ate. Why do we call people Kuya? So this
yeah,
means in the Philippines, if the person is older than you call them Kuya. And if the person, the lady is older than you call them ate. It's a
mm,
sign of respect for the people. And that is not existing, especially in the US. You cannot hear people say Kuya Joey or
mm,
because they don't have that language. Everybody here, even your parents in America, even the people, their parents, they call the child, call their parents by their names, some of them, and not everybody, but that's already instilled. Like you call your dad their names, like Connie, Jose, whatever. That's how it is in our country, in the US.
mm.
And sometimes people cannot adapt. They were like surprised. Oh, if it's a Filipino, they will say they don't respect their parents. And that
Yeah,
is really what's going on here. And for those terminologies that you talk about, Kuya, Kuya Joey, I was not even aware of all those lately because my children, they don't, they are like raised here in the US and they
yeah.
speak
You're
English.
not maybe aware of the names or the
Mhm.
categories, but you're aware of the ideal
Yes.
and the feeling that's there. Yeah, this is just a way for us to kind of explain it to people who don't.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Which
don't
is
think
good.
people. I think kapwa is fairly often used, but
Mhm.
beyond kapwa and utang ng loob or hiat, I think those are all the other ones. Yeah, I don't think people go around and talk about that. It was just a way
Mhm.
for us to kind of, you know, it's funny you were talking about the kuya and ate. When I got married, I remember my wife was, I was like, who is this? And she's like, oh, this is Tito so and so, and this is Tito so and so. And I'm like, oh, so this is your mom's brother? No. Your dad's brother? No, no, no. Wait a minute, you just said he's your uncle. So that can be confusing to Americans, especially in the Philippines. They will call a lot of people uncle or auntie or tita or tito. Um, And they may not even be related at all by blood.
Mhm.
It may just, like you said, they lived in the same house or they lived in the house next door and they call him tita or tito. Um,
Yeah, the neighbors,
yeah.
your mom's friends,
So
your dad's
just
friends.
because your wife or your husband calls somebody uncle, it doesn't really mean that that's their uncle. It's just so
Mhm.
Americans can understand that because it's kind of. I remember the first couple of years we were married before I learned that I was like, oh my god, she has so many uncles and aunts. You know. And then I'm trying to figure out who's who, and then, she's like, "No, no,
Uh-huh.
no, he's not related." "Oh, okay, but you called him uncle." She's like, "Yeah." So it can get kinda confusing.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Yeah.
so I guess the next step. Do we still have time?
Yes. Yeah,
Fif-
we have a lot of time.
15 minutes. Okay, so I guess the question is Kapwa, and I'm using Kapwa as like an overall word to explain all of these different categories. So is Kapwa still alive in the Philippines today in the modern age? I think many Filipinos would say no. But
Kapwa,
I think
kapwa.
I think those Filipinos might be mistaken because there's a phenomenon where when I look at myself in the mirror every morning and I'm brushing my teeth or whatever, I don't notice the changes that happen over time because I see myself every single day, right? But if you don't look at yourself in the mirror for 1 month, you don't look at pictures of yourself, and then you go back 1 month later and look, there's a lot of changes that happen in that 1 month. Imagine 1 year or 10 years, you know, and that it's because I think a lot of Filipinos, because I read a lot of articles and they're like, oh, the Kapwa attitude or mindset is gone within Philippines. I don't think that's true. Um, and I would argue that the Kapwa attitude exists within Filipino Americans too. Um, it's just different. It's very different, especially for the ones who were like her children who were born and raised here. They were born, yeah, in a family that is Filipino and has the Filipino ideals of Kapwa. But once they come out of that family, because remember the next level is your friends, your team, your region. Once they come out of that, now they're in a completely different spectrum. They're in America, who has a whole different thing. So, but that doesn't mean that her children still don't have those ideas instilled into them in their upbringing. Um, it's just different. Um, so Kapwa is not dead, and you're like, okay, prove it. Okay, where do we see Kapwa? We see it in the extreme
Hospitality.
hospitality that Filipinos have. If you've ever been around Filipinos anywhere, it's just like you're staying in a five-star hotel, no matter what you're doing. They're extremely hospitable. And what does that go back to? That goes back to that trait of pakikisamamuha. Uh,
Salamuha.
salamuha. See, I told you I was gonna every time I was gonna mess that one up. But that's what that goes back to. That whole um, practice of interacting and adapting to a situation. That's where it comes from. We see that Filipinos are extremely flexible, and I'm not talking about physically. I'm talking about in the situation that they're presented. Um, we see Filipinos. One of the biggest exports of Philip or imports of Filipino money is through a thing called OFW. Overseas
Yes.
Filipino workers. Many Filipinos, I think it's 11 million Filipinos, are working outside the Philippines now. Um, and they're in every city in the world. Um, and then you start talking to some of these OFWs, and whatever country they're in, they speak the language almost completely fluently. They understand the culture of that. They understand the things that they can do, they can't do. They they seem to like melt in to whatever country they're in and just function seamlessly like they were a native. Um, and that's the flexibility I'm talking about. But there's also another flexibility that Filipinos have due to this Kapwa structure. And it's the Philippines. I don't know if you guys are aware that the Philippines is the most uh, prone country in the world to natural disasters. They have everything in the Philippines. They don't have blizzards, I guess. But besides blizzards, they have every other kind of natural disaster: earthquakes, tsunamis, volcano eruptions, landslides, monsoons. They have it all. And if you watch the news in the Philippines, you see that generally on like every 2 or 3 months, there's some kind of natural disaster in the Philippines. And you would think that with a culture that, with a country that isn't the richest in the world, there's a lot of poverty in the Philippines. Um, and then it's just hit over and over and over and over by natural disasters. And then all these things that the people would just be like, oh my gosh, we give up. No, you watch the videos, go there when it's happened. You see a typhoon just comes through and wipes out this whole town. And the people aren't sitting around crying, oh, woe is me. No, they're picking up their neighbor's house. They're standing it up. They're giving their neighbor food. They're they're taking care of each other and they're smiling and laughing and having fun while they're doing it. That's that
Yep.
flexibility and adaptability. Um, and that comes from pakisalamuha and
Pakisama.
pakisama. Yeah. So that's where that comes from. Then you have another amazing trait about Filipinos, and it's their optimism. And this comes from the bahala na thing. Filipinos are very optimistic, even when facing the typhoon is coming. It's gonna hit our city. We know, but they'll be optimistic about oh, it's gonna be okay. We're gonna get through. Bahala na. God
Mhm.
will take care of us, and when the storm passes, we'll rebuild. They're not. They're not going. Oh my God! Everybody run, collect all of our stuff. Don't let anybody else get our stuff. No, they're not doing that. They're hey, when the
That's
sto-
funny.
when the
I
storm comes,
uh-huh.
we'll take care of you, and you'll take care of us. And it,
Yeah, I remember here in the US, if there's in the news, if there's like a storm or a flood, the
mm-hmm,
people are preparing their emergency kits, their emergency big trash can, make it into a pantry and all that. It's a big deal. But in the Philippines, it's people are still walking the streets and they don't care what's going to happen the next hour.
right? Yeah, it's crazy. It's that bahalana
Mhm.
trait. Uh, it's not I give up and everything's no. It's I have faith in my God. I have faith in my community. I have faith in my family that no matter what happens, we're going to live. We're going to be happy and we're going to get through it. That's a very hard thing for people to do, but it's super easy for Filipinos because that's part of the culture. Um, we also see Kapwa alive today and the hundreds and thousands of festivals that go on in the Philippines. We see them in the traditional dances, the maglalatik, the uh,
Hati-hatihan.
tikling, yeah, the pandango sa ilaw, the what is it, the singkit. All these different dances. They're telling a story. It's not just oh they're dancing. No, they're telling a story. Filipino plays. Um, I think the Igrots are very good at doing their plays. And you can watch all of these on YouTube. You don't actually have to go to the Philippines. You can watch them on YouTube. And like there's one I love, and I don't remember the names. Agrot and Arata, but it's telling the story of how the chocolate hills were formed, and it's just these cool stories. And then we have the mythological stuff, and Batala and the Seven Moons, uh, or the Encanto in the Philippines, those stories, the Capre, the uh, Tikbalang.
Uh-huh.
These are all part of the culture, and they're still alive today. We see movies made out of them. We see them in festivals. We see all these things.
Aswang.
Aswang, Manananggal, yeah, which is interesting because yeah, it sounds like a crazy story. There's this thing that separates its body and flies around and eats the unborn baby of women. That's how the that's how the people before the Spanish arrived. That's how they explained miscarriages. They didn't understand the scientific part of miscarriage, but that's how they explained it was, "Oh, there must be this monster that comes and eats the babies of the pregnant women. That's why they're losing their babies. Or like Bakunawa, and he'd go up and eat the moons. That's how Filipinos explained lunar eclipses. You know, there's a lot of stuff to it, and it's beautiful and amazing. But and we still see these in plays and stuff in the Philippines. We have the arts, the different artistic types, the paintings and stuff. The clothing is still alive.
Barong.
Barong, yes, the barot
Did you wear
saya.
did you wear barong on your wedding?
I did.
Wow. That's good.
We have the barong sala. Barong sala? No, barot
Barong.
barot sala.
I don't
We
know
have
what
that.
that is.
It's the female version of a barong, and then it had the dress that was multicolored
Uh-huh.
skirt. The salakot. You know, we
Uh-huh.
still see the salakot. If you go anywhere where there's rice farmers, they're wearing the salakot still. You know,
Uh-huh.
the pointed hat, kind of the.
Yeah, and the dance, what dance is that? The kuracha, the Spanish dance. And
Yeah,
tinikling, tinikling, that's the Filipino
tinikling.
dance.
Yeah, with the
And then
bamboo.
yeah, I'm glad you mentioned about those dances, about those festivals in the Philippines. Every province or city, they have their own festival. Like for example, me, I came from Bacolod City. I don't know if you've heard of Bacolod
Hmm.
City.
Yes.
Bacolod City is the city of smiles, where
Mm.
you can see people always smiling, even if they have problems, if they have don't no rice, no money, they will say sadja, sadja, happy. So
Sadja.
people are suffering and they still happy. So that's the culture that we have
You know,
back in our.
there's a funny thing that we were talking about the other day, and there's a joke. I know you've heard it before. Oh, where's Ate? Oh, she's late. Oh, she's on Filipino time. You know, because it's in the Philippines, but I love it because Filipinos um don't stick to a clock. Um, yeah, and some things they do. When it comes to work, showing up on time to work, yeah, that's
Mhm.
fine. But I'm talking about when you're having fun with your friends, it's not like, oh, I have to be gone by 7 or I have to go do this by 5:30. No, it's who cares? We're having fun, we're living life. And time is not important. What's important is what we're doing, you know? I kind of love that idea. Um oh, another place where we can see Kapwa alive and well today, especially to those of you who are overseas, is the Kababayan spirit. You know, anywhere you go in the world, we talked about there's Filipinos in every city just about in the world. Guess what you'll also find? You'll find a Filipino community. And it may not be an official Philam group or whatever, but it will be a collection of Filipino friends, Filipinos who are friends, getting together every now and then to have a party, birthday party, or go to church together, or whatever. They're getting together as kababayan. For those who don't know, kababayan is kind of like fellow countrymen. Um, I guess would be the best way to translate that. But there's a kababayan spirit that exists. That oh, hey, even though I don't know you, I met you and you're Filipino, and we're kababayan because we're both away from our homes. We're both Filipino. We share kapwa. Come over, we'll get to know each other because then that kababayan spirit then becomes the mga kaibigan spirit, which then becomes family, your extended family abroad. Um, and what's interesting about social media is all of these things exist within social media as well.
Mhm.
Bayanihan exist in social media. We're sharing each other's channels. We're carrying um, people's channels for them to grow their channels. We see utang ng loob displayed in the language and oh, you shared my channel, let me share your channel with people. Oh, you came to my My 1 year anniversary, I'm gonna come to your 1 year. It's all there. Uh, just all of these different concepts are alive and well, not only in everyday life, but also here on social media. Um, we see a very big one for those Americans, especially, and Filipinos may not even realize it. You go to any other community in YouTube, they don't have teams. Like here in the Filipino community, there's team this, team more, team this, team that, and
Team
they're like,
banks,
yeah,
team banks, people with banks. No, there's a team.
yeah, and you're like, what is going on with all these teams? Why do they have teams? And it goes back to the family, and then the friends. That's the next layer, and that's what that is. It's teams. They're creating their own barangay in YouTube, and
Mhm.
they're practicing Kapa, whether they realize it or not. It's Kapwa here in YouTube. They're helping each other out. They're helping each other's channels. They're helping your friends' channels. Everybody's growing together. It's Kapwa, and it's here on YouTube, and on Facebook. It's on all social media. So
Mm.
my point to that is social media. So we know that Kapwa exists. We see that. You may not see it. You have to look for it maybe in the modern world, but it's still here. But does it exist in social media? And we just talked about it. It absolutely does. It's all over social media. Anywhere Filipinos are involved, there's Kapwa. Um, but then we get to the tricky one here. This is the one that flames everybody. So if there's anything that I say here, I'm so sorry. It's my own beliefs. Colonial men-
Bahala na.
Bahala na, yeah. Colonial mentality. For those who don't maybe know what colonial mentality is, the Philippines have been occupied several times by the Spanish, by the Americans as colonialists. Um, and colonial mentality nowadays is the idea that Filipino this, Filipino that is not as good as Korean this or Korean that or Japanese this or American this. And so we should try to be more like Americans, Koreans, Japanese, whatever, and be less like Filipinos. That's what colonial mentality is. Colonial mentality is the most dangerous weapon against Kapwa. It's the most dangerous weapon against the Filipino identity. Um, it's the most dangerous weapon against the Filipino people. Is there advantages to colonial mentality? Absolutely. You have your financial, your artistic, your social, your international advantages to understanding these other cultures, to picking and pulling the things that can benefit the Filipino culture, the Filipino people, Filipino business, whatever it may be. But there has to be a balance. Um, and social media has become the catalyst to strengthening colonial mentality within the younger generation. Think about it. If for those of you in the Philippines, go to a festival, go to, you know, your local barangay doing their traditional dances at their whatever thing. How many people there are you seeing that are in their 20s? You see the really young and then you see the really old. There's a whole bunch of the community of the community in that area that's not involved in these things anymore because they're involved in YouTube, they're involved in TikTok, they're involved in other social media platforms. They're getting that fix from social media. And like I said, it's not all bad because another advantage of this social media is now rather than having to go to a library and get a book and read about Filipino culture, now I can type in Filipino culture in a Google search and come up with 1,000 videos on YouTube of things happening in Philippines. So it's not all bad. There's a lot of advantages, but there's disadvantages too, and we need to be aware of that. We need to be aware of how social media is influencing this colonial mentality that can destroy the Filipino culture.
That's where the generation gap comes in. When the old people, they don't really understand what the young people are doing, and sometimes there's a problem because when, for example, like in my case, my grandparents would tell me, in my during my time when I was still young, my grandparents would tell me, you go to this to your school, and then you ask for money for the transportation, and they will say, when I was studying, that was long time ago, they just walk how many miles going to the school, and that's not going to be it's not applicable right now because
Yeah,
now we have all this, all these cars, vehicles, tricycle or whatever jeep and that is available. So there is a generation gap that sometimes is a conflict between the old and the young
there
one.
there is. I agree. There's a gap of technology, maybe a gap of understanding and how to completely use that technology to in its full ability. But I think there's many of us here watching.
Hmm.
Here comes down to my message. Filipinos, the culture, the people, the history, um, the food, everything. It's unique. It's beautiful. It should be cherished by those who live it, and it should be shared with the world in general. Um, and we have the opportunity to do it here on YouTube, on social media. It's provided us this perfect way to share and connect with that group that we were just talking about that have kind of moved away. It, we can use these, and there's people doing it. There's organizations all over the Philippines who are all about spreading the ideals of Kapwa and teaching it. There's groups all over the Philippines who travel and put on these plays and everything about Filipino history, and um, we see the festivals like we talked about. The food, I mean, it's all there, but we just have to take that extra step and say and make it a part of the balance for the younger people and say, look, this is why we do this. Not just do it. It's just this is why we do it. This is why in the Philippines it's different than here because it means something to us as a people. Um, and in the modern world, we can use the YouTube to help spread those messages. We can use it to propagate that culture again. Even within those youngers, they're starving for it. They're starving for an identity. That's why they're going to colonial mentality. They're starving for who am I? And then they're becoming something that they're not. They're becoming that Korean K-pop band. They're becoming the American guy they saw in a movie. No, that's not who you are. Go down the street and look at what's going on in your community in your barangay. That's who you are, you know?
Or they can go look at the mirror and look at themselves in the mirror and
Yeah.
that's I think the easiest way is look at yourself in the mirror and see who you are and be who you are.
So Kon has a question, and it's a
Yes,
good
not.
one. Do you have any bad experience ever encountered? For sure, Filipinos have had bad sides too. Of course. Of course. But I'm going to say this. There's a lot of channels here on YouTube, especially, who talk about only the bad side. To me, my focus is there's not a balance. We need more people talking about the good side because that bad side is such a small percentage of the Filipino people. It's the good side. It's the huge percentage. Why aren't we talking about that more? That's what needs to be talked about more is the beauty and uniqueness and the kind people and hospitality and all of that. It needs to be talked about more. Um, yeah, maybe not. Maybe it's not as sexy to talk about those things, but it's the real thing, you
That's
know.
that's why the Filipinos, I'm sorry, but I have noticed that if my topic is about something that arouse their curiosity, or some Marites people are coming in, a lot of guests, a lot of people coming are just
Hmm.
doing Marites. You know what Marites is.
Yeah, and Marites, you know what? Marites has its place. It really
Yeah,
does.
it's a culture.
It's a cultural aspect. Yeah, it does have its place. But just like in anything, in any of these traits, overusing them is dangerous. And it becomes bad. It becomes like you were talking about at the beginning with utang ng loob, where it can be used wrongly or incorrectly, and it becomes a negative trait. Bahala na can become a negative trait if you think of it the wrong way and say, I'm leaving it up to God. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to let God handle it. No, that's not how you use bahala na. That's not how you use utang ng loob. I'm not doing something for sunflower here because I want sunflower in the future to do something for me. No, that's not the point. That's not how it works. That's not how it's supposed to work. Get in touch with what the real root of these things are and start practicing them in your daily life. And I mean, that sells itself. The Filipino culture sells itself. It doesn't need bells and whistles. It is what it is, and it's beautiful by itself.
That's why you love your wife.
That's not why I love my wife, but I love my wife because of who she is.
Uh-huh.
But I love those things about her as well.
Because she's a Filipino.
Yeah, yeah. And she's adapted. That's a big trait. She's adapted so much. But the thing I love about her is she has kept a lot too. Yeah, she's adapted to an American lifestyle, but she hasn't changed who she is because she lives in America.
So she goes to appointments on time.
She goes to appointments.
Appointments. Yeah,
Yeah.
because time is one of the things that
Oh, yeah.
Filipino have their own
Oh,
their
yeah,
own
yeah.
way.
Lakshmi, hello. Utang ng loob can be dangerous, Kuya Joey. Sometimes it's a trap. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's not utang ng loob. That's not when it's used that way. That is not what it is. That's taking advantage of someone. That's
Mhm.
not utang ng loob. Utang ng loob is only one thing. It is I am doing this for this person, and I don't expect that person to do anything for me. That's what it is. Anything other than that, it's not utang ng loob. It's I'm taking advantage of this of kindness for this person. But then people will qualify it as utang ng loob and say, "Oh, see, that's bad. That's a bad trait of Filipinos." No, it's not, because that's not what it was. You're using it wrong, and now you're giving it a bad name, right? If you're doing it the right way, it's beautiful by itself. It's been around for thousands of years for a reason. Making up shit. I don't know. I'm saying that about you, Concon. I'm just saying, you know, it's yeah. When you misuse these things to take advantage of them in some way, yeah, that's bad. But then that also changes what it is, and it's no longer that thing that you said it was. It's something completely different. It's a tool at that point to take advantage of other people, to take advantage of kindness, to take advantage of the community.
On the other hand, Kuya Joey, on the other hand, utang na loob is like something that you put, like for me, that I put in my mind forever as long as I live. Like for example, my aunt. Let's say my aunt. spend for my education in college. So
Yeah.
it's a forever giving back to that aunt because of the utang na loob. So
Right, right. Like I
it's
said,
something.
it's something that's inherent at birth. When it comes to family, it's
Mhm,
inherent at birth. Like, you will always owe a debt of gratitude. Hey, that
mhm.
may be a better translation for utang na
Yes,
loob,
it
debt of
is.
gratitude. You always owe a debt of gratitude to people, and some
Mhm.
of them are for life. So, yeah. And if you take advantage of that debt of gratitude and use it as a tool to acquire wealth or whatever for yourself, guess
Mhm.
what? That's not utang na loob that you're doing. That's just taking advantage of somebody.
Agreed. Yes.
So,
So,
yeah, but I think that's my biggest message. My biggest message is, okay, look, Americans, especially those of you, or I should say foreigners, who are involved with a Filipino woman or Filipino man, and you're wanting to take a relationship to the next level, make it better, study the culture, study the language. There's so much of the language that comes from the culture and vice versa. There's a lot of little cool things within the language, like the po and the paki that I was talking about, and the maki, and but there's a lot of really cool things. The language and the culture go hand to hand. The food and the culture go hand to hand. Eat the food, try it. If you don't like it, that's fine, but at least you tried it. You know, don't ask what's in it if you like it, because you may not like it then.
Kuya Joey, I typed my question so that we can have this on the record.
Okay, crab mentality. So, explain a little bit about your question. What is the crab mentality?
Okay, so you haven't experienced the club mentality. Crab mentality is something like, if for example I am successful with what I'm doing, I it's like somebody else, like some Filipino, they would grab you, like pull you down because they see like envy or jealousy. It's pulling someone else down because
Oh,
of that inherent crab mentality that, oh, the people always say Filipinos have crab mentality.
yeah, I think that's just a different way of explaining it. God, I forgot the name of it again. Amor, I'm horrible with the Spanish. When we're talking about Hiat,
Mhm.
the thing that goes with it, amor,
Amor copio.
copio. That's crab
Mhm.
mentality. Amor copio.
So it came from Spanish
Well, I don't
root.
know where it came from. It probably is a colonial mentality trait, I would imagine. Because you think about it, Filipino culture doesn't teach that. It teaches, let's build our community up together,
Mhm,
and we're stronger by the sum of our parts, not by the individuals. That's all about the individual. Crab mentality is about the individual.
mhm,
I'm jealous because he's succeeding,
mhm,
or I'm jealous because she sings really good. No, or I'm jealous because he got this business deal. That has nothing to do with Filipino culture. That's a concept brought into the Philippines through colonial mentality. And anyone practicing that is, you know, practicing Hiat as well. You know, they're bringing that shame upon themselves and their family.
mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
so, yeah, I don't know. I think that's kind of I've seen that before. I didn't know it was called crab mentality, but that's pretty cool because they grab things and pull it.
Pull it
um,
down, like
yeah,
pulling someone else down.
yeah, and that's just, you know what? That has nothing to do with culture. I think that's in every culture. It's in America too. It's in Canada, I'm sure. I think that's just being a bad person. You know, I don't think it's something inherent to the Philippines. I think that's worldwide, especially now with social media. It's just, you see it. Oh my God, look, he doesn't have any hair. Oh my God, look, you know what I mean? And it all comes from jealousy. Well, he's got 10,000 followers. Why? He doesn't have any videos, or you know what I mean? So I don't think that's a Filipino thing. I think it's a worldwide thing that Filipinos have come to through colonial mentality mindset.
Okay. Okay.
'Cause, I mean, you think about it, you live in America, you see it with from Americans too, you know?
Yeah, but you know, the Americans, they there is that thing that I observed. They don't care if the other person is succeeding, the friend is succeeding. They don't really care. They support. But this type of crab mentality is something that when you see your friend Filipino and you see that that person is succeeding, you would start talking about it, saying some negative stuff, and just like pulling someone else down.
Yeah. Yeah, again, I don't think that's a part of Filipino culture. I just think
Mhm.
it's something that they have adapted to and brought
Mhm.
in.
Yeah, it's not
Um,
all Filipinos are like that. No,
no.
it's just, not everybody's doing that thing. It's just that sometimes we see it's an expression about, expression that you can see somewhere, crab mentality, Filipino crab mentality.
Mhm. Yeah,
Even that's even happening anywhere.
I would say if you're around people who are doing that, get away from them.
Yes. Yeah.
Because all they're gonna do is end up turning you into that person too.
Mhm.
You know, we are there's an old saying about we are the sum of the 5 people we spend the most time with, or something like that. I don't remember the saying, but I mean, it's true. Um, I spend the most time with my wife. That's probably why I've learned a lot of the Filipino culture, and not that she taught me, but
Mhm.
just from observing. You know, I've noticed a lot about the way she interacts with her friends and her
Mhm.
family, and then our family, and you can learn a lot about that. So that's what I was talking about. If you're dating a Filipino, or you're dating or getting married, or you are married, learn the culture. I mean, you don't have to become an expert at it, but
Understand.
develop an understanding. And if you're in the Philippines, work on promoting your culture to other Filipinos, to the young ones, to your nieces, your nephews, your sons, your grandchildren. Talk about it, promote it, and then also promote it to the world through social media. Use social media to show the world what the Filipino lifestyle is, the Filipino culture is.
That's a very good idea. Maybe I can start doing
Come
that.
in and say hi.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi!
Hello, how are you? Magandang umaga po.
Magandang umaga rin.
So we can understand our languages. I'm from Bacolod City, Bisaya and
Ah,
Ilonggo, and you are from Davao,
malambing.
Malambing.
Oo,
Yeah.
oo nga.
So how's everything? Tell us about Joey.
Joe is so sweet, He's so
Yes,
sweet
I can see that.
husband. So like uh always get like meaningful husband. And then take
Meaningful.
care.
This is getting recorded, right?
Yes.
No, no, I did
Make
ano,
sure na walang tsinelas na mag-fly
mapalo.
over there. Tsinelas.
Oo
So,
nga, always
yung
take
sabi nga
care.
ni Choki,
Mm,
tsinitsinelas mo daw siya.
hindi gaano.
Nabakya.
'Pag matigas ang
Bakit?
ulo, oo, mapapalo. So, 'yun
Okay.
nga,
So
ito malambing talaga 'to kahit ano,
so you're lucky. You're lucky to have Joey kasi he's trying to learn and
yeah,
adjust with the Filipino culture,
mas
Filipino.
maano pa 'to, mas magaling pa sa akin yung history natin kaysa
Oo nga
kaysa
'no?
akin. Walang-wala,
Marami siyang alam about the
hindi ko alam.
Filipino.
Oo, sabi ko, "Uy, nakakahiya naman." Hindi ko tinatanong niya tapos hindi ako
Maybe
sumasagot.
Kuya
Oo,
Joey, maybe we should do this often so we can educate people. So
yeah,
yeah,
sige nag
I was saying that
Love
maybe
you.
we
love
should
you.
do this often
Tell us
often.
thank you, nice talk.
She
Thank
said
you,
thank you.
bye.
She has to get
Yes,
ready for work, sorry.
okay. So she works on a Saturday too.
Yeah.
Okay, so Kuya Joey, this is a very good conversation. I really like our topic because we educate, we go back to the times when this information are not are not available because the young ones they're born with this technology and no more communication. The problem with what we have right now with the technology is that we focus ourselves on technology, we
Mm,
focus ourselves on social media, that we disregard other things, important things around us. And that applies in the Philippines. You know that the Philippines is one of the most number of people who are on social media,
mhm.
and they're technology savvy and all this. In fact, when I was still in the Philippines, I got the latest cell phone, and when I came to the US, it's not existing yet. They still have this flip phone and the big phones, the cell phones. But
Yeah.
we were one of the first who were using uh, latest in technology, and the Philippines is, the modern country,
Yeah,
the adapt to whatever is new.
I don't think that technology is a bad thing, of course. I love
Mm-hmm.
technology, but I think we need to learn how to use it better as a tool to balance out our lives,
Mm-hmm.
um, and promote our cultures and stuff. I'm serious. You take a kid. I don't care how old. You take a kid. Let's say a teenager
Mm-hmm.
who's done nothing but social media and go to school and do all that, and he's seen amazing things on YouTube or whatever. And then you take them to the chocolate hills in Bohol, and you go in that perch where you can see it. Oh my God! I don't care what they're gonna say. They're gonna be amazed because they're there. They're breathing the air. They're seeing it with their own eyes. It's not a video. It's they can
Mhm.
feel the wind. You take them to a festival. They smell the fireworks. They feel the beating of the drums. They can touch the thing. You take them to an art show, and they can go and they can appreciate the painting in its 3D detail. A lot of these kids, they don't experience that stuff. They just see it on, oh, oh yeah, that's cool. I saw that before. No, you didn't.
Mhm.
You saw a video of it. It's different.
Mhm.
Let's go in person. Let's go watch it. Let's go experience it. The street foods that are there during the fiesta. You know, I can. It's, I'm trying to equate it to something. It's like food. I can watch somebody cook lechon on YouTube, and now I know what it is, and I can listen to somebody explain to me what it tastes like, but I still really don't know until I go to a place and they got the pig on the thing and it's been cooking and I can smell it. The smoke's getting in my eyes. And then they put it on the table with the bamboo or, with the banana leaves, and everybody's going there and you're cutting it and you're picking it up with your hands and dipping it in the sauce. And then it goes in your mouth, and it's not the same. It's not the same as somebody explaining it to you, or you're watching it on a video and then you actually doing it. It's
Mhm.
a completely different thing. And I think that's the problem. I think so many of this group, 20 years old and 30 years and younger, we'll just say that they've experienced a lot in their life, but it's all been through a video or through an app or something.
Mhm.
And if you get them to go to a place and do something they've never done before, they're going to be in awe. And that's how you catch them on the Filipino culture. That's how you grab their hearts.
Mhm.
And they're like, "Oh my god, I want to experience this again." And this person was talking about this other thing that's happening, and it's better than this. Oh my god, let's schedule it. We're gonna go. Let's go do it. Let's go learn about it. That's how you do it.
This is a very good conversation. I'm thinking, maybe we should, all the Filipino Americans with American couples, Filipino American, we should invite their children to come visit the Philippines or
Yeah,
give them a tour of the Philippines. the
Yeah,
the real one, not just on Facebook or on YouTube, the
right.
real thing.
And the other thing is, if you go, God, I hear this so many times. Have you ever been to the Philippines? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I went to Manila. Uh huh. Where else did you go? Oh no, no. I just went to Manila the whole time. What did you do in Manila? Well, we stayed at this American style thing. We went to these American. We ate at McDonald's, and you didn't go to the Philippines. Go to the Philippines. Go to Manila, land in Manila, and then go out to the province somewhere.
Mhm.
Don't eat at American restaurants. Eat at Filipino restaurants, or eat at the street vendors, or go to
Yeah.
the ocean when they're catching the fish, and he brings it in, and then you can buy the fish right there, and then take it over and grill it.
Yeah,
You know?
living bahay kubo, no air
Yeah,
condition.
yeah. Going to a Philippines and staying in an American style hotel and eating the American that's not going. You could do that here.
Mhm.
The only difference
Wow.
is now it's hot there and it was cold here. That's the only difference. Just go
You can at least
experience it. The real Philippines. And I'm not saying Manila's not the real Philippines. It is. But I'm just saying go out.
Mhm.
Go to where the tourists don't go.
Yeah, the outskirts, the
Yeah,
beaches
if
and
you're a white guy and you're in the Philippines and you look around and you see other white guys, you're in the wrong place. Go to the place where there's no white people. There's nobody that looks like you. That's how you do it.
Uh-huh.
And Filipinos who've lived in Manila their whole life then do the same thing, you know?
Yeah, you're right, Kuya Joey. I've not even gone to Davao or other places in the Philippines. So I think when I go back, I should start going around the
Yeah,
Philippines.
because that was a whole nother part of the subject that I don't want to get into today, but because it'll take forever. But there's
Mhm.
so many subcultural differences. Ilocanos do not cook adobo the same way that
Mhm.
Kapapangans do. And in Davao, they don't even really have adobo. It's called humba. And it tastes completely different. You go and you have, this thing over here. Over here in this other region, it's completely different. It's called the same thing, but it's not the same thing. It's different. You know? Yeah, they're both having festivals for the same thing. For what's the name that the festival that's coming up now? Uh
Ate-atihan.
yeah, but that one's celebrated all over in Philippines, in different places.
Uh-huh.
But it's not celebrated the same because
Yes.
there's subcultural differences. Go to a different one and experience it. Ooh, hey, local guy standing here, why are you doing it this way? And then learn. Because where I'm
Yeah.
from, they do it like this. Oh, really? And then teach him the differences. And then you're exchanging ideas and you're both learning.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
it's we have forgotten as a people, and I don't mean Filipinos, I mean people of Earth. We have forgotten over the last 20 years how to talk to people in real life.
Mhm. Yeah, because we are used to like talking to them with all these emojis.
Yeah,
No feelings.
yeah.
It's just like
Or just doing short answers and short questions, and because
and
I
worst
can only use 200 characters. No.
and worst, Kuya Joey, they will tell you MMLSO. What is that? MMLSO
Mega,
or
mega love shout
I
out.
L U, I L U, I
Yeah.
love you.
It,
So
it's
a lot
and
of
it's the
things.
same. If Filipinos, if you come to America or Canada or any other country to work, do the same thing. Go explore. Don't just sit in your house. Go talk to people and learn. And I don't have to tell Filipinos that. Like I said earlier, they're the most adaptable people on the face of the planet. But man, it's so many people. They come to America, for example, and they go to California, and then they spend their entire lives in California, and they think that's what all of America is like. No, my culture here, the things that we do in Alabama are so vastly different from the things that you guys do in California.
Mm.
The food we eat is different. The way we obviously
The
the way we
the
talk.
accents,
Yeah,
yeah.
but You would be surprised, and I think it's the same in the Philippines. Davao is vastly different than Ilocos del Norte.
Mhm.
It's different than, Pangasinan.
So, Kuya Joey, I have a question for you. So, when was the last time you were in the Philippines?
A long time ago,
And
2008.
that's how many years ago? 20 years ago, almost
Yeah,
more than that.
yeah.
So it's different
No,
now.
not 20 years ago. It's like,
2008,
yeah. What are we now?
2008, yeah,
2024.
2018. Yeah, so it's like 14 years.
Yeah. Now my wife's and the kids have been since. I can't take off I don't get that many vacation days. So
So, shout out Tayo Makato. Ah, so
Sana
yeah, he said,
ma-interview din ako,
sana
boss.
ma-interview din ako, boss. Yeah, we can do that. Interviewin kita kailan mo gusto. We can do another interview. Kuya Joey, I really like this conversation with you. We need to do this again. And
Yeah, I
maybe the
enjoy
next
it.
time we do it, we can show the map of the Philippines, and we know exactly what we're talking about, that people should go where should they go if they're in the
Yeah,
Philippines, not just in Manila, because there are beautiful places around the Philippines.
yeah. And guys, we're on YouTube. Find Yeah, it's fun if you're in the community that you go to streams and sing all the time. That's fine. That's great. There's more to it. Go find these channels that are showing you how to cook these different foods from these different areas. Go we were we were watching Ate set up her Christmas tree one day, and me and my wife were both trying to figure out what she was saying because they were speaking I think you Wadai?
Waray.
Yeah, you and your husband are speaking Wadai, and we're both like, "Oh my god, what are they saying? We can't understand." So
Oh,
we're
no,
like,
no, I'm sorry. Not Waray, it's Ilonggo.
it was Elongo, okay.
Uh-huh.
And we're trying to it was fun because we didn't know what they were saying. We knew what they were doing, but we were just trying to, and it was cool. And you know, there's so much to experience within the Philippines. I think you can spend your lifetime and not experience it all. But YouTube is beneficial and not giving you the experiences, but giving you the knowledge of the experiences. So now I can go and I can look at this Mount Apo in Davao, and
Mhm.
I can see what it looks like, and I can then decide, hey, is that something I really want to try to do? And then if it is, go do it. Go to Davao, climb Mount Apo, the highest peak in the Philippines. You
Mhm.
know, go to the one I want to see in my life is Mount Mayon. It's the most
Mhm.
perfectly shaped volcano in the world, and it's just absolutely beautiful. I've seen in pictures. I'm like, if it's this beautiful in pictures, what must it be like in real life? When I
And
can
the
feel the
chocolate
breeze,
hills,
the chocolate hills. Just
Baguio,
yeah,
rice
just
terraces.
and I always wanted to, and I probably never get a chance to now, but I always wanted to walk the steps that Jose Rizal um, took on his way from his prison cell to where he was executed. They've covered it up now. You can't see the
Mhm.
golden steps anymore. They're not there. Um, but that's something I always wanted to do. Um,
It's not too late.
Yeah, they covered it up. It is too late. The
Oh, they
steps is
covered
not
it.
you can still walk the path, but the goal you remember there used to be steps,
Mhm.
and it was like these brass they covered it up. I don't know why. Maybe they're gonna put it back, but, um, things like that. That's another thing. If you have children, if you have grandchildren, teach them about those people in Filipino
Mhm.
history who sacrificed everything, to get you guys where you are now. They shouldn't be forgotten. Um, Especially there's a lot of Philippine if you have, granddaughters or daughters, teach them about the Filipino heroines, the female heroes of the Philippines. Oh my god, the stories are amazing what some of these women did. Um, so
Shout out Kuya Ramon channel. Kuya Ramon Flores. He is in Canada, Joey. Have you met Kuya Ramon?
I don't think so.
Oh, Kuya Ramon, I wanna introduce you to Kuya Joey. He is in Alabama, and now we're talking about Filipino culture. Good
Yeah.
morning to you.
Hello po. Good morning. Ikinagagala kitong kumakilala.
Ayan, ang galing-galing ng
So,
Filipino. Sige,
Mamon.
magsalita ka ng full Filipino in like 1 minute.
Oh my
Say something in
gosh, you're gonna
Filipino.
hurt me.
Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Ako'y nandito sa channel ni Jepser Media. So, yeah, I'm glad that you were able to be to guest in my show, and your our topic is very educational, and everybody can relate to what we're talking about.
It
And
is. I hope they can
yeah.
because we're at a critical point, I think, in Filipino culture where
Mhm.
um, something's got to give. It's got to give, or the culture is going to get broken. Maybe
Mhm.
not in our lifetime, but in the lifetime of your grandchildren for sure. If something
Yes.
doesn't get corrected, it's going to get broken. It's going to get forgotten.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about my children. I haven't even taught them about Filipino culture. Yeah, they don't do the bless you here.
Yeah,
Um, a lot of things. Maybe it's
it's time.
myself also. It's how many years. But my eldest son, he was born in the Philippines and came here when he was already 16. So he still have that um like experience of a Filipino culture.
Yeah.
But the rest, the other two, they don't have it.
Well, like you just told me about this steps of Jose Rizal. It's
I
never
know.
too. It's never too late, diba?
Yeah, and also that the ladies, um the three heroes, the ladies, I can't remember their names.
Gabriella,
Gabriela, yeah, the strong women.
sila. What's her name?
Matapang.
Gabriella. Yeah, yeah. Uh,
Matapang
yeah.
na heroes.
I can. Some of their names are really hard because they're actually Tagalog. That's the thing I
Mhm.
love is when people have Tagalog names or Filipino names and not the Spanish names.
Mhm.
Oh my god, some of those names are hard.
Yeah, and I think my daughter learned something. She went to Hawaii
Mm,
University when she took her college degree, and they have a subject, Filipino subject, and she took the
yeah.
Jose Rizal.
You know
So,
what would actually be a great topic for us next time
uh-huh.
is the Filipino American story.
Okay,
Is
so that will
so
be our homework.
it is
That will be
so
your next
over
topic.
yeah, it is so overlooked, and
Filipino
I think
American.
Filipino Americans don't even know how huge of an impact the Filipino people have had on America. It's
Yes,
amazing. It's
yes.
shocking actually that it's not taught.
Mhm.
Um, especially for you in California. Oh my
Uh-huh.
god, I think you're gonna be amazed by some of this stuff because it was shocking. When I learned all this stuff as I've been learning it over the years, I was like, I don't even believe this. It's so fantastical and amazing. I've never heard it before. I don't even believe it. And
Like,
then
for
I had to go,
example,
um, many of the cities in California are not named after Spanish. Actually named after Filipinos.
Manila Way. There's a street here that calls Manila Way.
Oh yeah, that's in Stockton, right?
There's also there's so many cities. Like, for
No,
example, the one that has
I'm talking about the cities
the
are
city. Oh, the
named
city,
are
not the
named
street.
after Filipinos, not Spanish. It just
Yeah,
happens that they have a Spanish name because the Filipino person that they were named after
yeah.
had a
Uh-huh.
Spanish name.
I see.
We can talk about the pensionados who came
Uh-huh.
the first ones to come to America. The pensionados, their story is horrific, but it's also one of that adaptability and that strength that Filipinos have. and they just would not give up, and they
Mhm.
became this hugely influential part. We can talk about in Louisiana, the Manila men, who are the ones who developed America's shrimping and lobster and crabbing industry. Without them, we would never be eating shrimp, lobster, and crab in America
Mhm.
like we do.
Wow.
You can talk about the people in Hawaii,
Uh-huh.
who did all the sugar cane stuff.
Mhm.
It's amazing. We can talk about Larry Itanlog, who everybody in America knows about Cesar Chavez and what he did.
Uh-huh.
But it
Yeah.
wasn't him. It wasn't him. It was Larry. It was a Filipino guy named Larry Itanlog
Uh-huh.
who did all of that. It wasn't Cesar Chavez.
Mhm.
It's just and the story is just it's amazing. And where you there's a place up where you live or close to you. It's the
Uh-huh.
National Filipino Historical Society.
Yeah, we have Filipino town in Los Angeles.
Yeah, yeah. And it's just the story of Filipino Americans is also vast, and Filipino American lifestyle on on the West Coast is different than
Mhm.
it is on the East Coast. The
Mhm.
stories are different. The how they got there is different, but it's still so really cool.
Wow, now I have to learn all of that.
Yeah. I
I
think you
wanna
would I think you would be really shocked at the
yes.
impact of Filipinos have had on America.
Yeah, absolutely, especially in the healthcare industry. I am in the healthcare industry, and
Yeah.
a lot of Filipinos are in
30
the healthcare
what is it?
industry.
33% of nurses in America are Filipino.
Yeah.
It's a crazy amount.
And if you want to see a lot of Filipinos, you go to the hospital.
Mhm. You go to the hospital or um well, I'm not gonna say that. I was gonna make a joke, but I don't wanna offend anybody.
Yeah. So anyway,
Yeah, it's
so
just amazing. So maybe that can be our next topic because,
y- yes, let's do that. So is
it's a
this time okay with you? Like the 6 a.m. in the morning? Is that right? When it's, um
it's
you're
fine with me.
adjusted?
We can do the Filipino American one later if you prefer, because that way more people in America can maybe watch.
Okay. Okay. So
But
let's plan
that's
for
an
that.
amazing story. Yeah, I'll be interested in talking about that with you.
So I think we can have like a regular schedule for us to talk about the Filipino. I
Yeah,
like this topic, and it's
it'll be
a
cool. Maybe
recollect.
we can get some other guests too to help.
Yes, yeah, we can have three people or three of us
Yeah,
on the panel and have a discussion, like just a conversation about the Filipino culture, about anything under the sun related to Filipino
yeah,
American or
because
even some.
there's a whole very unique, and it wouldn't be a long one, but there's a
Uh-huh.
very unique story of Filipino music.
Mm-hmm.
From
Oh, about the music.
from the native music to kundiman to harana to Manila sound to OPM to what we
Oh.
have now. It's a very cool, interesting little story.
Kuya Joey, I have a request for you.
Yes.
I want you to sing your song, the original composition that you made for the Filipino OFWs.
Oh my God. Wow, can we do that next time?
Yeah, we can do that next
I
time,
don't
but
have my setup. My setup's not ready at
I
all.
see. Yeah, that's fine. Next time you're gonna sing your
Yeah, next time
original
I'll have it
composition
ready.
Filipino music.
Yeah.
In the meantime, if they're curious about your music, they can go to your page and
Yes.
click on those original songs that you composed, Tagalog music, Tagalog songs that Kuya Joey composed.
Absolutely. And starting actually today,
Uh-huh.
um, I'm gonna be starting something different on my channel where I'm helping American or foreigners start their journey into learning Tagalog.
Wow.
So I'm gonna be posting. I'm not teaching Tagalog guys, but I'm helping these guys work through, because there's a lot of when I was learning Tagalog, there were so many questions that weren't answered in books and that my wife didn't know the answer to, and or so many different ways of explaining something that just wasn't explained. And so
Mhm.
I, from an American mindset of speaking English to learning Tagalog, I think hopefully I can help guide them. But also including in that, I've told them, I said, hey, if you want to learn the language, you have to learn the culture. So a part of the class
It's
is
a
going to be
class.
it. Yeah, what I said class, but a part of the thing is going to be learning about Filipino culture as well.
Wow, that's
Um,
amazing. You are teaching
so
Filipino culture to the Americans.
yeah, because well, who else is doing it?
Exactly. Nobody.
So somebody has to do it, and somebody need, and we need to. I'm not Filipino,
Uh-huh.
um, but I love the Filipino people and the culture and the history, and I just want to promote it to the world because it's so beautiful. Once you get to know it, it's like, oh my God, why is this kept a secret? And for those people who are involved in a relationship with a Filipino, they should know this, and it should be easier. And you don't have to go through the fight that I did. I had to go. This is before the internet. I had to go to the library and check books out, and get the library to request books from another library. It's just because they didn't have them, and there's no reason to do all that.
So, and I think it's better if you're the ones like sharing the Filipino culture to another American. It is more like Americans will appreciate it more, and I think they will listen to you more than a Filipino telling them about the Filipino
I think
culture.
you have some truth there, but you know what is also really cool, and a big part of
Mhm.
why I'm doing shows like this is I want Filipinos to see that an American is so interested. Because if an American is so interested, maybe that Filipino person sitting there in the Philippines is going to say, wait a minute, if he is so interested and so dedicated to learning this, why am I not learning it? I'm Filipino. Why am I not
Mhm.
learning? You know what I mean? So I
Mhm.
hope it kind of helps inspire.
Yeah, it you inspired me because I myself is not even aware of some of those things. I may be aware of the terminologies, the words, but the interest may not be there. Not
Yeah,
until I talk to you right now that oh, there is
right.
this is something.
Yeah,
There
there's
is
this whole
something that
different
we can
crazy
do.
thing that I never thought of. Yeah,
Yeah, and now that why I'm in you on YouTube and social media, why I might as well use this vehicle, use this platform to
yeah,
let other people know and educate, share the knowledge to everybody
yeah, yeah.
in on my channel.
Absolutely.
I'm
Hey,
glad
George.
that I'm glad that you are one of my first guests that we have something very fruitful this
Yeah,
this morning.
maraming
Okay, Kuya
salamat po.
Joey. I really appreciate your time, and I think we spent almost 2 hours.
Wow.
We are 1 and 54 minutes, so we'll make it 2 hours. Anything that you want to say and share to everybody who's here and listening? This is recorded, so they can replay this again and again.
Okay. Yeah. No, the only thing I want to share to you guys is mabuhay.
Mabuhay.
Mabuhay and God bless.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's less than 1 minute.
Well, I'm trying to keep it short because of the time. So,
Okay, so mabuhay Kuya Joey,
no, yeah,
mabuhay ka.
mabuhay, God bless, and share the Filipino culture with everyone, even other Filipinos. Share it with your kababayan. Share it with your
Family.
barangay. Share it with your family, and share it with the people you don't even know.
Mhm.
Let them see the beauty.
The beauty of the Philippines and the
Yeah.
beautiful culture that we have. We have to keep it like as long as we can. Learn whatever the roots. Our roots is very important.
Yeah.
Where we came from. So the people, Kuya Joey, this is just my message to everybody that um if you like if you're lost, if a person is lost, you just go back where you came from and you will know the beautiful things that we have,
Or if
and
you're
that will
lost,
inspire.
or if you're lost, you can take your shirt off and turn it inside out and upside down
To
and put
wear
it.
it again. Yeah, so it's also true when like for example, if you're driving and you're lost, you don't know where to go, you just go back, you just go around the circle, the square, just square it, and
Yeah.
you will know where to go.
Yeah, sometimes to like you're saying, turn around and go back. Sometimes to see, I'm not a fan of just Filipino history and stuff. I'm a huge fan of American history. I study a lot of American history. I love the stories, you know. And sometimes you're not getting the full story. You know, I can read this book here and I'm getting that story. But there's so much that happened before that story or that led into that story. So sometimes you just have to go all the way back to the beginning.
Mhm.
Like you said, turn around, go all the way back. Go all the way back to the beginning and find out why this happened. And ask that question. That's the most important question people can ask. Why? Why? You know, oh, we do this because of this. Why? Well, because this happened and why? Well, because of that. Yeah, but why? You know what I'm saying? And it's just,
So we have to know the why.
yeah, you have to know the why, of course. You know what? We'll make it a even 2 hours for you. So you said a minute ago, yeah, come experience the beauty of the Philippines. And I hear that a lot. Um, but I think when most people are saying that, they're talking about the islands and the views and all of that. No, that's not what the beauty of the Philippines is.
The people.
The people. That's the beauty of the Philippines. That's the real beauty. It's not the islands and the ocean and
Mhm.
Boracay, and it's not that. Yeah, those are beautiful things to look at. That's not the beauty of the Philippines.
Uh,
That's
yeah,
not
and
why
then
that's not why Manila was called the Pearl of the Orient for so many years before World War II.
mhm,
Yeah, it was a beautiful city. It was the biggest city, but that's not why it became the biggest city. Why did it become the biggest city? Because of the people.
mhm.
That's why.
Yeah, and I know what you're saying. Like for example, here in America, you can go to the most beautiful, the happiest place on earth is Disneyland.
Yeah.
But it's not about the people; it's about the place.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's
And
very
it's just like I think where I live here is one of the most beautiful places in America. And it's
yeah.
not because of the place, it's because of the people we have around us,
Mhm.
the way we treat each other,
Yeah.
the way we were raised.
Yes, and every state, they have their own culture.
Yeah.
Like there are some states that
Every
you cannot
city.
even. Every city they have their own culture,
Yeah.
own accents, and own way of living. So
Exactly.
nothing is the same. It's the same thing in the Philippines. We have more than 7,000 islands, and each of these islands they have their own languages and culture and favorite food and all these festivities. In Bacolod City, we are the city of smiles, so we have mascara festivals where you can see every year October you see people in the festival wearing masks like
Yeah.
smiling, all
Yeah.
out smiling. So that's Bacolod City.
What's the tall, skinny ones called with
Uh,
the big draped what are those called? What are those guys called?
I don't know.
Those guys they
I don't know what
scare me.
city.
They scare me. The big, tall, skinny, and they got the white mask and the
Uh,
clothes are
I
yeah,
don't know what city have that
they're scary to me.
festival. Yeah, but we have different locations. There's also a place there they say that there's a lot of aswang. There's aswang.
Yeah, and, starts with a C. What is it? Capis?
Capis? Is
Yeah,
Capis? And there's also starts with a D, the mangas or
mm.
Sikihor. There's also aswang in Sikihor. I
I
don't
want to
know.
go to the place where they have lots of capre. I like capre.
Capre, where is that
Yeah.
place?
I don't know, I think my wife's place, they have capre because it's like
In
coconut farm.
Davao?
Well, it's all
Davao?
coconut farm, so that's where they live in the coconut tree,
Ah.
mango
I
tree.
Capre, yeah.
Capre
So
is good.
anyway, we have a very good conversation, and this is a
Yeah,
very
opo.
fruitful interview moment with Kuya Joey. We're gonna do this again. Maybe we can do this once every other week, talking about
Uh
Filipino culture.
Yeah, we'll talk.
We'll
I gotta
talk.
look at schedule and how that
Yes.
all works. But yeah,
Okay, when we're available. Okay, so thank you very much to all the 100. How many people? They came, a lot of people earlier. But
Yeah,
if you miss any of our conversation, you can always replay this video. And again, Kuya Joey, thank you very much for your time, and to your wife. What's her name again?
Marlin.
Marlin, thank you
Yeah.
very much also to Marlin to allow your husband to be on live television and talking about our culture. And I think you know more than us. You know more about the Philippines than me and Marlene.
I don't know that that's true. Um, I'm
No,
just
when it
super
comes
interested.
to comes to Filipino culture and the history.
Maybe with the history, yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's about what interests you and how much it interests you.
Mhm.
So I don't compare myself to how much this person knows or that person knows. This is
Mhm.
my opinions on
Mhm.
the things I've learned. So
Okay. Okay. So again, thank you very much, Kuya Joey. I appreciate your time and looking forward to our next live stream about the
uh,
Filipino culture.
opo,
Thank
salamat po
you very
hanggang
much.
sa muli.
Okay, so what is your channel again for people who has not
Kuya
gone to your face?
Kuya Joey official.
Kuya Joey Official. So Kuya Joey Official. Okay, so please visit Kuya Joey Official's channel, and hope to talk to all of you again in the
Yeah.
future. Thank you so much and have a
Bye
nice day,
guys.
Kuya Joey. Happy weekend.
Ikaw din. Ingat sa iyong lahat pag-ampingi mo sa tanan.
Okay, thank you very much. Salamat na marami. Ayan. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, thank you very much to all of you, and I hope you like our live stream today. Thank you again, Kuya Joey. I'm gonna close our live stream. Bye, everybody.